And we are live. I think I think we're online. I don't know whether I can actually be accused of being alive. It's been one of those days. It's like, so then, tell me how you feel. How I feel dead inside. You?
I feel sorry, my husband is sending me a text message. He's working on our budget right now.
Well, welcome, Internet, to the International Writers Fellowship on Monday, the 15th of July. My name is Daniel Hand. I'm the RPG therapist with Erica Walker, the RPG play therapist. Two
Yes.
RPG therapists in one stream. Ember will join us momentarily,
Shortly.
I believe. Jen is birthdaying, and
Yes,
Gary
Jen is
is
birthday.
Gary is being a lunatic who's got two kids, working a full-time job and building a house.
Yeah, I saw pictures. Like, I did not realize how much work he has done to that house.
No, me neither. I didn't know.
That was insane. It's amazing.
He's doubled the size of the house. And it's like, mate, you are aware that the house was pretty damn big to begin with, right?
Really freaking big.
But outside of budgets, how have you been? You were a bit ill last week.
Yes, I think I concluded that last week I had kind of like just worked myself through like a series of a whole bunch of things into just complete and total exhaustion. And like Monday, I basically shut down. Like even with my ADHD medication, I took a nap, and I don't do that.
And talking about ADHD and medication. Hi, Amber.
Rude. I didn't come here to be called out.
But
to be fair,
this week is much better. I did my first like solo, well, me and my friend solo training on our own done last Friday, so that was super freaking exciting.
Congratulations.
That is super freaking exciting.
Yeah, so it's an Adlerian thing. Like we do cards, and so if I do a day training or more than that, so like 3-hour trainings, I'm not sending out packages, but it was like a full day training, so I sent out a package, and they had Dragon Oracle cards, and the card that I pulled was just like kicking my ass. And the only reason I mention it is because it's still staring at me, but it was the Dragon Rider card. And I decided that I pulled this card because I need to ask for help sometimes.
Oh.
And this was telling me that sometimes I need to let my friends carry me. And because they offer to do that, and I need to let them. But it's really hard to ask for that help.
And the phrase I often use with clients is, "And what did we learn?"
So it's been sitting there, and it's the cards. Yeah,
the card. They never question the cards. Amber, how you doing? You've had your hair done lovely. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. Not a huge change, just blunter bang. I'm all right. It's not a bazillion degrees in here, which is really radical. I did my first solo training last week, which was nuts. The first official professional engagement for Diana Gray Creative Services was live and in person. Taught people about social media, got some really good feedback. Don't think I disassociated while I was talking too bad. Speaking of ADD, that was something I forgot that happens to me when I'm public speaking sometimes. If I'm reading a speech or reciting something, like I'll be there, but then my brain will start to like get kind of meta. And I'm like, no, stay here.
Stay with me. Come on. No.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, So next time I prepare a speaking engagement, I have to remember that sometimes I disassociate, so I have to really try to stay present. But I do a lot of like check-ins with the audience, which also helps them stay present and not disassociate in the audience. So that was cool. And that was stress though from that was incredible because I've never presented by myself as my own thing. Like I've presented by myself for companies and other things, but like this was me and my business and my ideas only, and I was completely in charge of it. And I wrote, I think, a 4,000 word speech for a 30-minute engagement.
Did you get through it?
No, I had to cut for time because our tech was having issues, and then like it was a whole thing. But generally, I think it went well. I'm trying not to let my inner critic be like, you know.
Yeah. So, on that note, then let's. We've already discussed that the cards never lie. So, who wants to do cards this week?
I don't have any cards here. Well, all of my cards are downstairs. The cards
Okay.
that I do have.
Done it the past couple of weeks, haven't I? So,
All right, I'll do it. I'll do it. Let's see.
So I'm waiting for some new decks to arrive. I was told they were going to be on their way. I keep checking delivery updates. It's like, where are my damn cards? Come on. And just not saying that I have an issue, but I may have bought 3 RPGs.
Yeah, we're not going to have that talk right now because
Mazes, which has got the polymorph system where each character class only ever rolls a single die. So one class has a D4, one class has a D6, etc. You've got Deathmatch Island, where you're basically playing the Hunger Games. And you've got a Jane Austen RPG.
Well, they're all tax write-offs, right?
Oh yeah, I couldn't afford it if they weren't.
So
Can't afford it even if they are.
don't mind me. I'm having difficulty shuffling.
Bless you.
Thank you.
And the Jane Austen one, Erica has rules for a 2-player.
Why can't I shuffle cards today? All right, I'm just gonna pull what's on top because apparently they don't want to be shuffled.
Oh, and also Good Society comes with its own cards. Why wouldn't it? I regret nothing.
Oh, well, this is new. The Chariot.
Oh wow! I love those cards.
Let's see. These cards are so fun. They're
That's
very
the Modern Witch one.
Modern Witch Tarot. Yeah, I must get a better webcam because this is not like it's blurry. I can tell, but there's like
you can still see what it is. It's
a very cool-looking butch woman in a leather jacket on a motorcycle
with 2 sphinxes in front of her.
with 2 sphinxes in front of her. Let's see what the booklet has in store for us. Let's see. I don't remember where the Chariot falls. Oh, it's number. I should look at the number. It's number 7. Don't mind me. I'm bad at this. Fool the magician. Here we are. She rules everything around her. The Chariot rides in on a silver gleaming motorcycle ready for battle. She's got her leather armor to protect her. Her crown points toward the sky, and she's connected to nature, to her emotions, and to the stable ground beneath her. The Chariot has worked hard to balance everything in her life perfectly. Everything is in its right place and under her control. Victory might not be easy, but she'll win in the end. It's time to be a boss and get shit done. Metaphorically or literally, put on your most badass leather jacket and toughest boots and get ready to fight. Fight for yourself. Don't give up. Don't let anyone run you off the road. It's probably going to take a bit of force and mental energy, but you're confident. You're powerful. You're prepared for this. Victory is yours. Well, okay. Modern Witch Tarot, telling it like it is.
I'm going to say, that's us told, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you've already both told us how you put on your best leather jacket and got shit done. past
I
week?
mean, basically.
Hmm.
Is that going to stay up? It doesn't want to. Oh well. Yeah. I mean, I feel it. I feel that deep in my bones.
Does it feel like a success, a new beginning, a new chapter in your life? Is this something to celebrate, or are you going, which is obviously a recognized emotional state?
I feel that I have spent the better part of 2024 going, what's that sound you made? Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
And this morning I opened an Ingram Spark account because I now have the money to publish Manny Fuego. I know, I'm so excited. And I keep shutting down my inner critic that's like, what if you format something wrong and fuck it all up? Like, it's just like, we'll get there when we get there. And there's other things going on, and I'm just sort of like facing up to all of it and saying, okay, but this is it. Like, we're doing it. You know? So yes, that feels very appropriate to me.
Well, so that's the first you mentioned actually doing Manny Fuego, so that is like, I mean, if that isn't getting shit done, I don't know what is.
I mean, the ISBN money was just a big move. You know, I opened a business this year and funds are really tight. And you open a business, it's just what it is. And so, you know, I've scrimped and saved and side hustled enough, and here we go. So yeah, that's exciting.
It really is. Well done.
Thank you.
So, Yorika, in terms of writing, how did that card, how did the chariot speak to you?
Hold on, I need to make myself a note. Sorry, today's the 15th, and like if I'm going to make a quarterly payment, like to prepay taxes for next year, today's the day I need to do it.
Oh shit.
Because I didn't do it first and second quarter because
Life.
all of the extra money was to pay for all of the taxes for this year.
Mm-hmm.
For writing, like that is part of, because I feel like that persona is part of any main character that I write. Even when I am writing like my male stories, one of them has that kind of underlying get shit done like mentality, and like fighting for what is right, being grounded, balancing. And I think because just like, you know, in D&D, we can't create a character that doesn't have piece of us in it.
Yeah.
Like that is me. I think maybe if there were a tarot card, that one would be me. Because out of everything that you were reading, I was like, yeah, that's, and it's taken me like a long time to see myself as that person. So, but yeah, I put myself into my characters because I can't not.
Yeah.
And I'm drawn to those characters too. I'm drawn to writing those characters.
And is there anything you're writing at the moment that applies to?
Cigar Smoking Dragon.
I don't know enough about that story yet to answer. I'm sure. %100%. Like it's going to show up, but I don't know enough about that story yet. That is 100% Alana. Well, that's what she becomes. She does not start off there. She
Yeah, if a character
becomes-
starts out like that, it's kind of boring, right? Like you want
Oh,
the
yeah.
character to get to that point.
Yeah, like at the end, yeah, you don't fuck with her like that. You just like you just don't, unless you want to not be living anymore. Depending,
Mhm.
Of course.
because there are worse things that a person can do than kill you.
The number of one-liners that came to me as response to that, I was like, yeah, do you know what? Let's just not go down that rabbit hole.
So it sounds like the card really resonated with me and Erica. What about you, Dan?
Yeah,
Well, the other thing that the chariot represents is often just a real physical journey, and obviously next week, a week tomorrow, I'm going to be flying out to the US to San Diego. I've got access to the con. I'm not going to be on any panels, but at least I'll be in there and be able to spend a ridiculous amount of money, even though I don't have any money. We've already established that. But again, tax write-offs. But yeah, so there's that. In terms of the writing, getting shit done, I've started a couple of projects, which I'm, going to try and keep really short. And one of them has already threatened to get bigger than I want to write a couple of monsters are tight. Yeah. I wanted to write a couple of 1,000-word short stories, and one of them has already said, "Oh, yeah, but you could do this, you could do that." So I've actually stopped it and going, "Yes, I could do all that, but why don't you just go and incubate for another day or two, and then we'll come back when you're ready to do what you're told." So getting shit done. So one of them is a fantasy story with a couple of characters who, it's basically a fantasy version of a Western, these characters just rock up into town, sort out a local problem, then wander off into the sunset kind of thing. It's your typical sword and sorcery fare. And the other one, which is something I think we have been planning to talk about for a while, and being as it's now the three of us, and we haven't got Gary, who gets squeamish about the topic, or Jen, who gets squeamish about the topic, is some sexy fun times. And I think we've established that I am easily the least experienced person among us on the writing of erotic fiction. But yeah, I'm not gonna get any better if I don't do it again. So I'm just getting myself started there. I'm getting that shit done as well. I'm not putting on a leather jacket for it though, just between you and me. I'm well past that age where I can pull off a leather jacket.
I'm telling you, it's not an age thing, it's an attitude thing.
Oh, I've got plenty of attitude. I just don't know if it's a leather jacket attitude.
I believe it could be. But are we sure that Jen didn't want to be part of the erotica discussion?
We're not. I'm not sure anymore, but she's normally quite about. But
we should say happy birthday to her.
We should say. Oh, is it today?
I'm not sure if it's actually today. It was this weekend, but she's away celebrating.
Good point.
Well, I think Facebook told me that it was today.
Stop dancing.
We know our friends. Hey, I don't know my friend's birthday. I don't even know my birthday.
It is today. Facebook said it is today.
It is today. Well, in that case, happy birthday today, Jen. Thank you.
Yes, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Without her, I would not be here. So.
Not wrong.
We met on the TikTok.
You met on the TikTok, but was it you wanted her to narrate something? Is that right?
she reached out to me. She was like, "Hey, I'm, Jane's Dreamy Bookshelf. If you have anything you want me to narrate for you." And I was like, "Yeah, the first chapter of my book." And we went back and forth and we met, and then she invited me to do this, and the rest is history.
Oh,
But yeah,
there you go.
she very bravely DM'd me on TikTok, which, was brave of her. It was brave of me to respond. One of us could have been a weirdo, turns out.
One
No
of you
weirdos.
could have been, yeah. Okay, but I mean, we can
totally do. I just didn't want to leave Jen out if she wanted to be part of that. But if you know her better and she tends to be kind of squicked out by the topic, then we can.
She has historically been a bit more squicked out by it, yeah.
Okay.
In my experience. But I mean, unless there's something either of you has in mind that you'd prefer to talk about.
I did want to touch on writing romances that are outside of your personal experience, because I have a couple in my book who it's two men, it's two gay men, obviously, and I'm not a gay man, so I do not know how to authentically write a relationship between two men, because I have plenty of gay friends, but I do not see my gay friends in intimate moments with just their partner, and like how those interactions play out. And, I could lean on what I know from media, but that could be stereotypical. And so like in trying to be inclusive and writing different types of characters, like gay folks, like people who are in polyamorous relationships, etc., how do you approach that?
So I'm not a gay man either.
What?
And of all of the spicy, I get explicit because that's how AO3 what categorizes it. That's the word I'm looking for.
Sorry, what's AO3?
Archive of Our Own. It's the fan fiction site.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I have written one heterosexual story that is explicit. I have written one, I guess it was a polyamorous female story. And the rest have been male.
Mm-hmm.
My very first story, when it got to the spicy part, so I'm going to preface this with saying that I have a very good relationship with this, I guess he's a third cousin. Like we have a good, we're a really good relationship. I had reached out to him and said, "Hey, I'm writing this story. Would it be weird for you to read it?" So he's gay. I should also say that. That's important
I assumed
to say. And I was like, "Hey, I'm writing this story. I've read a lot of gay fan fiction. I want to make sure that because also with fan fiction, it's a little bit different than other stuff, because fan fiction you can go wild with. Like, it doesn't have to be realistic. And for this story, I wanted it to be realistic, I guess. And I'm not a dude, so I don't know what is realistic. So I wrote it and I said, "Hey, would this be weird if you read it?" And he was like, "No, I would love to be the first one to read this." And he read it and he was like, "This was amazing." So, I mean, I got really great feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because I don't know, that's what I read. Like, my brain just kind of goes wild with, like, it is harder for me to write heterosexual romance scenes and spicy scenes than it is for me to write gay male scenes.
Any thoughts on how or why that might be?
I think it's because I immerse myself in, that's what I read. Like, that's all I read.
So, And I'm not even talking about like sexually. I'm talking about like just the relationship dynamics and like romantic dynamics and things
Mhm.
like that. And it's like, should I just be reading more gay romance if I'm going to write a realistic gay couple?
Well, and I think for me, one of the things that I love is that when I went to Orlando for my conference, one of the workshops I went to was called From Laddership to Leadership, Social Equality in the Classroom.
Mhm.
And I wanted it, like, I went to it because I wanted to be able to talk to teachers about what they're doing with my clients is stupid, but I wanted to have really, like, I wanted to have better words than the things you're doing is stupid. And one of the things that they talked about was throughout history, we've had this power dynamic where we've had people in power and we've had the one down position. And with men, women have always had the one down position. And even though we have had a movement to have equality, we are not equal. We're not on equal footing. And so one of the things that I love about when I write, and I know that this isn't true across the board for gay couples, but when I write them, there is that equality. They are on equal ground. And I love that there's not that power differential. And I think that's one of the reasons, back to what you asked, Daniel, of why I like to read that is because they're equal.
This is blowing my mind because I'm realizing now that that's what I've been doing. Like I know that when I try to write those kinds of couples, like I end up making one person a little more feminine and deferential, right? And like I'm bisexual and I still feel like I'm attracted to butch women. So it's like when I'm writing a relationship, there is always one person who is a little softer and a little more, I don't know how to explain it. Hang on, I have an itch that I cannot scratch on screen. So
And what's difficult for me with fan fiction and where I kind of fix shit is I'm working with pre-made characters who are, I mean, in the show of Glee, Kurt Hummel was a very stereotypical, effeminate gay man.
So these aren't characters who you have taken and made gay. These were gay characters
on the show.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Blaine was
Blaine a jock.
No.
I don't remember Glee.
He was. In the show they talk about, like, Kurt says, like, you are the alpha gay. Like, he's not someone who looks gay, and Kurt is someone who, like, looks gay.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I wrote them, I tried really hard to not write them that way. Because I wanted them, I tried to fix a lot of shit that Glee just screwed up because they did. Anyway, I'm not even going to get into that.
Okay.
I tried to fix some things because I wanted, like, I loved their relationship and I saw the vast potential of it. And then it just kind of snowballed from there, where everything went with my writing.
Okay, I have to ask, how did, like, broad strokes, how did Glee screw it up?
I think there were a lot of things they missed.
Okay. Like, as a person who's going to be writing stuff like this, I want to know what the stumbling blocks are.
like the bullying in the school. And
Oh.
here's another thing. Our school, like where I went to such a tiny school. There was one kid in like my class who was not out. And it was because it never would have been safe for him to be out where I grew up. And it was like, I reached out to him after high school and he's like, you're the only person who's ever reached out to me and apologized for all the like crap that I went through. Not that I was like an acting participant,
I was going to say.
but I was like, I am so sorry you went through all of that because that sucks. And I'm sorry that I wasn't strong enough to step in and stop, because I wasn't. And like, I take ownership for that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you're the only person who's ever reached out to me. And I was like, that sucks. Anyway, but like that was never addressed ever. Not really, not on a big scale. Like teachers bullying kids and kids bullying kids and making death threats, and the death threats like getting glossed over, and like physical.
See, I haven't seen Glee at all. I'm only tangentially aware of what Glee is, so this is like I'm just. I apologize if I'm not taking as active a part in the conversation as I normally do, but it's, I have no frame of reference to this conversation, so just so you know why I'm being as quiet as I am. I just.
That's okay. I just really wanted to pick Erica's brain about this because she successfully writes, gay male couples. And in this version of the story that I'm writing of my fantasy book, in this final draft that I'm making, I swapped genders for one of the main characters. And the relationship now works way better. But I do find that I'm falling back on heteronormative relationship dynamics, and I don't want it to read that way. I've only been in serious heterosexual relationships. I was closeted for the longest time and like afraid to date women. So like, I don't have experience really with that either. I've had some very romantic friendships and, kissed a lot of girls, but yeah, writing men and men together is like so far outside of my locus of experience, aside from what I've observed from people and media. So
Well,
but there's
like,
not bullying, and I'm writing sort of I'm writing a fantasy story wherein being gay does not make you a liability. So
yeah,
like we have different problems in my fantasy world,
right.
which is great.
Well, in one of like, I guess the biggest thing that made me comfortable in writing any sort of, because my first story I wasn't intending it to be any sort of spicy. Like it was going to be a romance because it was about these two specific characters, but I wasn't intending it to get spicy until that's where Velma said we're going. I was like, okay, we're going here.
Characters will do
And
that.
I think it was because I started reading Glee fan fiction in 2016. And then I wrote my first story in 2020. And so like, I had read so much that's, I think, the biggest reason I felt comfortable even trying to attempt writing it.
Mm-hmm.
Was because I had read so much. And then the other thing is go with it as you're writing. Like, don't think about it. Don't overthink it, Daniel.
Sorry, don't what?
Don't overthink it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I never overthink anything.
Of course not. Well, that's a good start. I feel like I should be reading more in that genre so I can get on to that. But Dan really wants to talk about sex, so let's do it.
Well, no, Dan is now thinking. Well, no, let's stick with what we're talking about now because we might as well
Well,
dedicate.
no, I mean,
Well, no, because I'm just thinking. Well, what is it? So, why the interest in the gay relationships? So, because as you say, neither of you are gay men.
No.
So why are you interested in writing or reading gay male relationships? And see, my immediate response to this question, whenever it comes up, and it comes up in many forms, but it is generally a case of, how do I write an experience that isn't my own? And my response to that is always, can anybody say imagination? And I would say, well, why do you want to write this? And what is it you get out of it? What is it you want to get out of it? What is it you want your readers to get out of it? That's where I would start off looking for clarification before I would then feel comfortable saying, oh, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do the other. Because reading more of what you want to write is always good, solid advice. Doesn't matter whether you're writing gay romance, war fiction, a how-to guide to hairdressing. It just, I've got no idea why. Just anyway. But I mean, presumably you're reading it and you're writing it because you want to. So if we can unpack that slightly, what about writing it appeals to you?
Are you asking me or Erica?
Yes.
Because I'm not drawn to generally like reading specifically male queer fiction. More interested in female queer fiction for obvious reasons. You're asking the why, and I think, I touched on that a little bit. I want these two to feel authentic, and to extrapolate on that, like, okay, there's a couple answers to that. I don't feel like I have a choice because these characters are romantically intertwined, and it's part of the story, and it always has been, and it's important. And, previously they were heterosexual, and so that was what it was. Funny enough, now that I swapped them to both being men, the relationship seems to work better. But part of why I don't have like, I can't think of the term. Like, basically, I don't have racism in my fantasy book, and people are safe being out in whatever sexuality they have. Like I said, there are other problems. There are other problems I'm addressing in that book, and so I have a diverse cast of characters, and I want readers to see themselves in someone in the novel. I want them to feel safe. I want them to all these things. So there's like 5 different answers to that question. And I ask because I feel, even though I swapped the genders, that I am still writing what feels like a heterosexual relationship. And I don't want gay folks to read that and be like, oh, this chick doesn't know what she's doing. She's written 2 men together, but one of them is acting like the girl. And that's not really how these relationships work, which I know, but I don't. Yeah.
Erica looks like she has some thoughts.
Good, because I'm also, where's all our peeps today?
I've been sitting here wondering exactly that. We have somebody lurking, so whoever you are, thank you for lurking. But
Love a
yeah,
lurker.
it's a very quiet day. So
my other stream was like this too today. It's very strange. Like, normally I have a couple people pop in and chat, and like nobody was there today. So,
well, the weather maybe, or certain news events.
I was gonna say it was a fucked up weekend, so people are maybe just touching grass today. You know, I'm gonna go touch grass and garden for the rest of the day because it's not 8 billion degrees out, so that's gonna be really nice.
Well, yeah, and
It
if
is
it's
8
nice
billion
weather.
degrees here.
Mm.
It's 103 with a heat index of 109.
We just got out of our heat wave. Like, it broke this last night. I was like, oh my god, it's cold. I need a blanket.
Whereas my heating automatically turned on last night.
Fuck you, Dan. Sorry, it just came out. It just came out.
It does. It comes out of most people, frankly.
Love you. Okay, Erica.
I mean, for me, it started because it started with Kurt and Blaine because I wanted to read more than what the show gave them. Like I wanted more than what the show gave them. And then as far as writing, I wanted to tell my own versions of their story. Like I wanted to tell the stories that the show didn't tell in some aspects, but then also I wanted to make my own shit up. And now I have more stories that I wanted to tell for them, but they don't feel like their stories anymore. They feel like somebody else's stories that I want to tell. The other side of that, and this is the answer that is probably going to get me people not liking me, but like 2 guys together I think is really hot.
Who is
And
gonna hate you for that? That is so common among women.
it is. No, but like there are there are people within I don't know if maybe it was just like on Tumblr, like nasty ass people who are like, you're just fetishizing. And I was like,
Oh.
what? Like, I can't think that two guys who are in love with each other is a beautiful thing.
Sexy and beautiful. Yeah.
Like,
well,
so like
odd.
And so it, for the longest time, that's why
these are people who are going to be completely okay with lesbian porn, obviously.
Probably.
Well, if you take it, I mean, if you are enjoying watching another couple that is outside of your own sexual or gender experience, that isn't automatically fetishizing. Like, I can see how it could be, and it could be very disrespectful and horrific, but I think most of the women out there who are enjoying that, there's all kinds of like gender theory reasons for it. I'm not going to get into that. I'm sure you know all about it. So if anybody is going to troll us in these comments, I will come after you with a stick.
And that was the other thing, like I had talked with my cousin about before I even started writing it, was like, I don't want to be that person.
Right. Which is a fair thing. We live in a society. People like to get mad.
But like in all of my, I'm trying to think. In all of my stories I wrote, and I even wrote one that was like BDSM. Like there was a contract and everything like in my story. Yes. The sex was always second. To the relationship. Like it was always an expression of the relationship. And when I find, like, when I get into a story, and if I'm reading it and it is, and I've only come across a couple where it's just like sex, 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 sex. I'm like, what there's no point to this story. Like, this person only wanted to write sex, which is fine. There are people out there who really like love to read just sex.
Porn without plot.
Yes,
I
I need
the storylines.
I need there to be a little bit of story. I need there to be some story with my porn.
Yeah. Well, and for women, typically, it's more of a cerebral experience anyway. You know, we talk about how the brain is like such a huge sexual organ, and like if you're not interested in this scenario, then you're not going to be that interested in the sex. It's like, again, I'm falling back on generalities. People of different gender expressions have different kinks, but yeah, the people, if you're not like, the only reason I end up writing so much is because I love my characters and my characters love each other and they want to ravage each other all the time. So
Yeah.
But I mean, we're talking about sex, you know, the gender stuff here, but is writing another perspective isn't just gender, but you know, yeah. So the two characters the sword and sorcery story I started, they're both women, but they're also both people of color. You know, I've got one black woman and one Indian coded woman.
why?
Sorry?
Why?
Oh,
I'm
why?
curious. Yeah, why?
Sorry, they said white. It's like, no, that's not very much not what I just said. I don't know if you've noticed, I like my history books. And I have lots and lots of books about Indian and African historical periods, and the people of those cultures are cool as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to write stories with these cool as fuck characters who have Indian and African historical events, yes, historical-esque events. I'm very much around the history rather than the I don't know, getting too caught up on the color itself. You know, it's the culture rather than the color that kind of gets it. And so, you know, I just see now I'm going all. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, I mean, it's inherently uncomfortable, I think, but I'm just curious, and I think it's cool.
Because
you know.
they had, me being me, I write a lot of fighting in my stories, and there are some very cool and coolly unique martial arts in India and African subcultures. I wanted to write those. I wanted to write an excuse to have, you know, an assegai and a kari in the same story.
So here we come into cultural appreciation.
Yeah, but it's. I think we mentioned earlier, you know, that people like to get angry, and even if we appreciate the culture, there is going to be a not insignificant group of people who are going to say that no, you're not appreciating it, you're appropriating it. And the same with,
I disagree on the significant number. I think that there are some people who are online to be angry, but I think if you're writing something with respect and deference and appreciation, that generally people are gonna, you know. And then there's the people, it's like, as an analogy, there's construction happening in town, and I mentioned to my husband, like, oh, people are getting all mad about the medians that they're putting in. And he was like, who? And I was like, oh, people online. And he was like, well, they went online to bitch about it. And I was like, I know, I think it's great. And he said, well, you're not going to go online to say it's great, are you? And I was like, no.
Well, no, when I say significant numbers, I mean literally in terms of numbers, not necessarily in terms of percentages. You know, 100 people complaining to me about anything is a lot of people. 100 people in the face of the world population is insignificant. That's kind of, but then again, I am not a social person, and if 100 people came at me, I would run away. So
Well, I can appreciate your honesty about your specific fears with writing that, but it's...
Oh no, but I don't have any specific fears of writing. Oddly enough,
I mean, of
talking about it. I'm suddenly writing it. No, it got accepted to what's it called? An anthology. Well, sorry, one of their stories, not the stories. One of the stories with those characters in it has been accepted years ago. But just I've got no idea where I was going. I had something profound to say, and I've forgotten what it was. So.
Oh, it's just another manic Monday.
I think, like, also in writing, I don't. This is probably a me thing because I have, my okay. So, Alana's a half elf. I did write one. Well, I wrote 2 spicy scenes. One, they're both fade-ish to black, but I wrote like special editions because I wanted to write out what all happened.
I understand.
Because so Alana's a half elf, and she's like 5'5". Her love interest, who ends up, is a dragonborn who is like 6'8".
Oh, we love them
like,
tall.
Big, was a gladiator, like big dude, big.
Drooling a little bit.
Big dude.
Okay. To get
so,
a napkin. Okay.
With my...
Start talking about Dragonborn, Amber.
Okay.
I love a big dude. I'm 5 feet tall. I love a man who can pick me up and toss me around like a rag doll. Like, I'm sorry. I
had these here. I'm gonna see if I can show you. I had these pop vinyls, like custom made. I spent way well. They weren't bad, but like this is Emmerich.
Okay, so he actually is a dragon man.
He is a dragonborn.
Yeah,
I see. I stepped back a little bit on that one. That's but
so with my, which I have talked about this, my somewhere on the spectrum of aphantasia, having difficulties envisioning what things look like. When you're writing spicy things, you have to be willing to do research.
I had a mental image of you holding your pop vinyls and being like, now kiss. But
no, because if you think about, like, I mean, Alana is a half elf. She is like human looking, like her parts are human looking. I had to imagine what would a dragonborn's parts look like,
and how would they interact,
and my DM and I actually,
this is one step beyond the Omegaverse right here.
Well, like there is a website that my DM told me about, and I was like, are you for serious right now? And so I went on and I found the ones I was like, okay, this the maybe, and I found one I was like, I'm thinking maybe this, and my DM said, yeah, that looks about right. And I was like, okay. But I had to have a picture because I had no idea how to envision what a dragonborn's parts would look like. So I have a file in my Google Drive that says Emmerich's package.
Oh my God. So when you die, if you die unexpectedly, one of us has to rush to your house and delete the dragon penis picture. That's what you're saying.
That are the size of these things are measured against Coke cans. Like, I'm just like, are you kidding me right now? But it's crazy town. But like, that's okay. But that is the level to which I am committed to my character and my writing, because like
I don't know if I'm ever going to drink out of this thing quite the same again.
It's not that big. There, it's measured against what I mean, it's bigger than that.
Size queen. Okay. I'm so sorry that we don't have the live chat audience today, because we are
This would be
getting into the thick of it.
But that was not something I ever thought that I would have to research or think about or anything like that when I was starting to write, ever.
Yeah. I think I can quite safely say I would never have anticipated having a conversation about dragon junk in my life.
This took a turn.
It did indeed.
Sorry.
No.
I mean, no, don't. We're going to have an entire conversation about all this, maybe next week when Jen's here, so that we can have the full erotic,
the full discussion, because there is so much to unpack. Like, we spent the past few weeks
from the
talking
sound
about
of it,
romance.
poor Alana's got to unpack a lot.
I think she's got to pack in a lot. Like, I can't get my hand around this thing.
But then, like,
deep breaths, baby girl, deep breaths. Oh my god.
Just the tip.
But like, so when you're writing, but as I was writing this, I was like, how in the world would this work? Like, I was seriously like,
Lots of lube.
Magic is a lovely thing. Prestidigitation can do lots and lots of different things. It's like Alana's favorite spell.
Marijuana. Sorry.
There are some fantastic spells in this book.
But I'm not calling it prestidigitation, because that's stealing Wizards of the Coast's intellectual property. I'm renaming. I don't remember what I'm renaming it, but
yeah, it's a type of spell. It's fine.
But let's like sex between species in a fantasy world.
Yes.
And that was interesting to write and trying, and I mean, and especially with my like struggle with picturing things, trying to envision what all that would look like. So, and one thing that I always struggle with when I'm writing, especially stuff like that, is this going to make sense? Like, am I writing this in a way that is going to translate and make sense to other people? We'll see when I start having people beta read that story.
I think that and I say this term lovingly, that the monster fucker community is going to love your books. Love it. Love it. Again, I say that lovingly. As a Twilight reader. Unabashed one. Well, this went places.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I liked both of their stuff. Even the like the one that will be in the book, not the one that was extended cut. Because I wanted
what was extended and what was cut?
So I did not go into detail in like, because I didn't want to have to like change the quote unquote rating for the entire series because I wanted to have these 2 scenes in the series. I wrote like for my friends to read, this is what happens after it kind of fades to black.
And this is why Alana never walked straight again.
Never. Poor thing.
Mm-hmm.
That night she was torn in half.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And why she she grunted in pain every time she sat down.
Yeah. Nope.
Well, on that note, shall we call it a day there, because we've had precisely 0 interaction.
You scared them away with the sex talk.
Well,
we were having a great time talking romance the past few weeks, so maybe they're sick of it.
Jokes on them, because we're going to be talking about it next week.
Yeah. So if you're catching this on the restream, we'll see you next week for more.
For a deep dive.
The deepest dive.
Yeah.
We'll go spelunking into the world of erotic. I have got to stop. I'm like, I am an adult with a child. Like, I've seen it all. Like, I can't get giggly about this, but it's fun. Maybe that's okay.
Did we help at all with your initial question, Amber?
I don't know. I think I guess I have to do some more reading, and
I mean, my quick answer would be write the story first, write the relationship, and then take a step back and think. It's the typical editing process. Write it, then think about it and edit it, and then whilst you're doing your reading, your supplemental reading, that will kind of filter into the equation. And if you have any friends you can turn to, that's it.
Well, the thing is, the story is written. It's been written and rewritten or edited a few times, and I'm just doing the rewrites to change the gender of one character and do a little bit of fixie-uppy with the story and the climax. So it's more like, I think now in the rewrites is the time to make this couple feel more real, and I'm just struggling with that at the moment. So I think the supplemental reading has to come first, because I don't want to have to go back and re-edit and rewrite too many more times, because it's going to make me insane, and I must publish this book eventually. So we'll see. Cool.
All right then, guys. Well, as usual, thank you for joining us. Shame about the quiet chat. It's something's happened. I mean, weird.
Maybe it's me. I haven't been here for the last few weeks, and then I show up and everyone leaves.
That's entirely. I mean, that's what I was thinking. I just didn't want to say it out loud, frankly.
I'm gonna say it again. We had a fucked up weekend. Like, let's just call it like it is.
Yeah.
People might just be offline today because they're
done.
I mean, I kind of want to just go live in a cave. I this is fucked up, man. So, not getting into it.
So, same time next week, and we will talk about whatever we talk about. And hopefully by then I'll have my new deck. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye.